It's a beautiful Friday morning, January 21, 2025. Thank God today is Friday, TGIF, or how do they say it? Oh, well, good morning and welcome to VOP This Morning on Voice of the People Television. I am Chukwuma Okoro. Now, in the next 2 hours, we'll be discussing Nigeria, and Nigeria. Something big happened yesterday. Former military president, Ibrahim Babangida, launched his memoir titled A Journey in Service. And in the process, he made an open confession and said that MKO Abiola, the candidate of the Social Democratic Party in the June 12, 1993 general election, actually won that election. Then he also said, look, the decision to annul June 12 was made behind my back. And clearly, former President General Sani Abacha, was the one behind it. That's one of the major topics of discussion this morning.
All right, interesting time it is, and yes, we'll focus on that. A lot of Nigerians are, lending their voices to it already. But we'll also be talking about insecurity. Well, this one is tagged Security Alert. Bello Turji resurfaces in Sokoto, imposes 25 million naira levy per village. Interesting times in Nigeria, I must say. All right then, but before we get into these conversations, let's take a few other things that Nigerians are talking about, and to let you know that we will be going into the papers very shortly. And for you to know the number to engage us with, there is a number that will be scrolling on your screen, and with that number, you can interact with us, and do well to follow us across social media. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV. That's where you're watching us from. Click on the subscribe button. Click on the notification bell so you can be part of everything we do right here. And then on other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. And don't forget to check out the website. It's www.voptv.ng. So do well to check out the website and, yes, engage with us. Now, let's look at a few things. Well, I am Moses Humphrey. I almost forgot to introduce myself. But let's look at a few things that Nigerians are talking about. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has retained the monetary policy rate, its benchmark interest rate, at 27.5%. Well, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Cardozo, made this disclosure at the end of the Monetary Policy Committee meeting of the Apex Bank. Well, he did say that the committee was unanimous in its decision to hold all parameters and thus decided as follows. Retain the MPR at 27.50%, retain the asymmetric corridor around the MPR at plus 500 to minus 100 basis points, retain the cash reserve ratio of deposit money banks at 50% and merchant banks at 16%, and also retain the liquidity ratio at 30%. All of this may not make sense to the ordinary Nigerian. All Nigerians want to know is how much is a painter of Gary? That's what matters to Nigerians. Well, also, President Bola Tinubu on Thursday assented to two separate bills establishing the Federal University of Agriculture and Development Studies, Iragbiji, Osun State, and the Federal University of Technology and Environmental Sciences, Inyi, Ekiti State. Well, President Tinubu said these specialized institutions will address the educational needs of the populace while driving research and innovation, and also contributing to the country's overall economic growth and development. Oh well, two interesting issues there that Nigerians are talking about. The establishment of those universities, laudable move. Clapping for the president, good one. But what is going on with FUNAB? Yeah, that's a Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. How much research do we see coming out of there? What are they doing with feeds, fertilizers, and things like that? How are they contributing to the agriculture in Nigeria? We need to question these things. Let's find answers to this, because we have institutions already that are focused in this. And if these institutions are not optimized, then what is the essence in establishing new ones? Or is it just for these universities to be located in certain places? So you say, yes, there is one in the south, in the southwest, or there is one in the north, or there is one here and there. No, it's not just about situating these institutions in certain places. Let Nigerians see the benefit that comes from the establishment of these institutions. Well, that's my take.
All right then. Thanks very much, Moses. You've said quite a lot that is very instructive. But I think let me start from the MPR that is put at 27.50%. I think what essentially the central bank governor and the MPR committee, what they are trying to do is to stem inflation using that. They want to control the liquidity in the system. But again, I don't know how that impacts on production, on manufacturing and all of that. If someone has to take a loan at 27.5% interest rate, I'm not sure. I don't know the magic, the economic magic that person will do, to come out of it, break even and make return on investment, because that is the essence of business. But like you said, all those jargon about plus this or 0.500 this, it doesn't make sense to the average person that wants to take ₦1 million, put into an SME, take 5 million naira, put into small manufacturing and all of that. It doesn't make sense. He doesn't understand all those things. So I think what the central bank needs to do is, in as much as they are trying to control or check inflation, they should also understand. Sometimes I begin to wonder, is it the primary economics that we studied in school? When you get to the higher level, does it change? Is it not the same thing that we learned that is supposed to be applied in society? We are talking at reducing interest rate to single digits, like in other places, so that someone takes money, takes loan from the bank, is able to ploy it into business, break even, make return on investment, which is profit. That is the essence of business. So whatever they do, whatever they know how to work around it, I think essentially that interest rate should come down. But I wouldn't know the reasons why they are leaving it at that high rate. Whatever they want to do, just ensure that, look, at the end of the day, the average Nigerian comes out in terms of purchasing power, in terms of being able to do business, make profit, and sustain that business. Now, let me move away from that and talk about the establishment of universities. I think, if you ask me, Nigeria doesn't seem to have enough universities, unfortunately, compared with other countries. But the issue is not establishing more universities. The issue is funding those universities, funding research centers. The last time I checked, Moses, you mentioned FUNA, Federal University of Agriculture, Abiola. We have one in Umuahia, Federal University of Agriculture, Umudike, which Benjamin Carlo is trying to convert to a conventional university. I don't know the reason behind that. Because we are supposed to have specific, core and content-specific universities that deal with particular specific areas, like agriculture that we are talking about. We also used to have research institutes. Those research institutes, there was to be one in Ibadan Firo, there was one in Umudike too. I don't know how they are faring. In all of this, we don't even get anything from research fellows to talk about, to even educate us about GMOs and all of that. What we just know is that a certain amount of money is allocated to this research institute, and every other year we keep recycling. Do we have new cassava stems, or do we have any other variety that is a product of research that is driven from our institutions? We don't have any of those things. So for me, it's useless you open universities, you establish new universities. One was established for Ogoni people the other day. How about funding? Does that solve our problem? Clearly, it doesn't solve our problem. And we see more people gravitating towards private universities because they seem to do better. They have stability in terms of tenure. You are sure that if your child enters a certain private university, and in the next 4 years, the person is going to graduate. But in public universities, you are not certain, you are not sure of that. So while establishing universities, it's thumbs up for the president. Please ensure that these universities are very well funded. And we should also place emphasis on research. Now that we have a University of Science and Technology in Iyin, Ekiti State, we should also have people who come out with technical products, innovations and all of that, because that is the only thing that drives economy and technology. Oh well, that's it for me.
All right then, well, let's go to another conversation now. Let's go to Another conversation. Now we hear that Senator representing Kogi Central Senatorial District, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, yesterday, well, according to some papers, they reported this as grounding plenary over her seat that was changed without her consent. Well, VOPTV reports that the plenary, which was being presided over by the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, was midway interrupted when Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan stood up and wanted to get the opportunity to express herself, to ask questions, but then she was more or less, turned down, and then went into a shouting spree. Well, some of the individuals intervened at a point. I think the Senate President asked that she be taken out of the chambers, which of course she refused. But through the intervention of the chief whip and other persons there, normalcy was restored. Oh well, seat changes. That's basically what caused all of this. Now, in as much as she expressed herself, and some Nigerians are hailing her because she said, "I am not afraid of you," and all of that, I think this could have been better handled. All right. From what I gathered, according to the constitution governing the assembly, these things happen when people resign or when people change parties and things like that. The seats are changed. Well, her seat was changed. She needed to know why. And if she had gone through the books, she would know that, yes, these things happen. And probably, you see, I'm a man of peace. I like peace. The Holy Book says, seek peace and pursue it with all men. So if somebody had probably explained to her, if she had asked calmly, like, "Oh, what happened?" and there was an explanation to it, we probably wouldn't see what would have been a major embarrassment for the Senate. But the Senate President needs to be tutored. I have to say this. There are better ways to handle issues other than, match an elected official out of the chambers just for wanting to express themselves. I think the Senate President can do better. He was bashed yesterday on social media. A lot of Nigerians say, "Oh, he's the worst Senate President ever," and all of that. But we all have our times. We all have our days. So I think all of this will be resolved, and it has been resolved. And there seems to be a whole lot more going on the ground, because Senator Natasha, was really venting, and one would think that it was more than just a seat change, or more than just being deprived, lending her voice, or speaking up at what she felt was injustice meted out to her. It seemed to be more than that, and this should be investigated, and frail nerves calmed.
All right.
Oh well, we might need to listen to the conversation for those that missed it yesterday. So from the statements made there, it's obvious that there is more to whatever we saw at plenary yesterday, but this could have been better handled.
Moses, I think what happened is a reflection. Before I get into it, like you are a man of peace, you are a dove. Dove. Some of us are hawks. You know, if you want peace, we'll give you peace. If you want war, we give you war. I think what happened yesterday was a reflection of the character of Nigeria's leadership, as represented in the Senate by Godswill Akpabio. Anyway, who happens to be the Senate president, unfortunately. I say unfortunately because he doesn't have the courage, you know, the presidential courage to lead the Senate. Several times, you know, he's been found on the wrong side of the news. And that shouldn't happen, you know, in a hallowed chamber of the Senate. Moses, you are talking about constitution of the Senate, which is more like the House rules. They have House rules. There's nothing wrong in the Senate, workers in the Senate, you know, the officers, walking around it and saying, look, Senator Natasha Arpoti Uduahan, your change has been rearranged. This is where you are supposed to sit for one reason or the other. Without having to bring it to the full glare of what transpired yesterday in the Senate, it clearly shows that, look, the people don't even have serious business to do. And Akpabio also acted out of character by saying that a fellow senator should be walked out. It could have been better handled, like you said, but he lost it as usual. He always does. He always does. I don't know why he is of that character. I'm very sorry if I'm bashing him. But like, from what Natasha said, I have had enough from you, I have taken enough from you, which more like suggests that, look, there's been this kind of running or simmering battle between the two of them for whatever reason. I wouldn't know. It could better have been handled, you know. So let's not get into all of this mess every other time, because what it clearly shows is that, look, the Senate doesn't even, like I said, they don't even have serious business to do, because if they had serious business to do, that altercation wouldn't have resulted to, you know, grounding plenary and all of that. Anyway, it has happened, and I'm sure Nigerians have their take in all of that. Now, okay, I was thinking that we should just look at the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, which has filed a motion for injunction against the Court of Appeal judgment that affirmed its proscription as a terrorist organization. Well, you recall that the appeal court had in a judgment delivered by Hama Akaubarka, O.E. Abang, and O.O. Oyewumi on January 30, 2025, upheld the proscription of IPOB as a terrorist organization by the Nigerian government. Well, IPOB filed a motion through its legal team led by Barrister Aloy Jimako, usually, and it said that the motion is aimed at checking the imminent danger of deploying the judgment as a cover to unleash extrajudicial killings in the southeast of Nigeria. A lot of people, including myself, raised concern that day here on VOP TV that, look, it will simply be, if you prescribe IPOB and designate it as a terrorist organization, it will be a call to action on the part of government, on the part of Nigerian state, on the part of security agencies to come hard on the Southeasterners, as we already experience in parts of the Southeast. You know, so because you see that, like I keep saying that in the past, how many years now, between one end of the Southeast and the other, you have 94 military checkpoints. What is that supposed to be? What is that supposed to mean? Meanwhile, in terrorist-prone areas, you don't even have such things. And our Nigerian soldiers, security agencies are always killed. Our arsenal destroyed by terrorist organizations, non-terror organizations, bandits, Boko Haram, and all of that. Yet, the federal government does not find it convenient to proscribe them and designate them terrorist organizations. It's more like justice for different people. So for some people, it is go ahead. For some people, we have to keep you where you belong. You don't have to be part of this country in one way or the other. Oh, well, it's quite unfortunate.
Very unfortunate indeed. Very unfortunate. But we're really out of time for this this segment. Now let's move on to other aspects of the show. Unfortunately, newspapers will come much later when we are going into newspaper review, and that will be at 9 o'clock. Well, let's look at the conversation we have on our table. Confession time. Ibrahim Babangida, popularly referred to as IBB, has confessed to the fact that MKO Abiola won the 1993 election. Well, let's x-ray this when we come back from this break. Join us again.
we go to bed empty hunger.
To the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's lodge.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries, Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV, youthful, full of vigor and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space, exposing the wrongs, applauding the rights, dissecting the news without fear or favor, through factual and accurate stories and contents.
Corruption kills three things that makes a society.
Representing the interests of the people and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television, truly a voice for the people. Are you ready to connect with distinguished Nigerians around the world? The Diaspora Perspective is here to share the views of Nigerians in the diaspora on burning issues.
From the street of New York, the royal cities of London, and the bustling cities of Europe, Voice of the People Television brings to you a roundtable and collage of interesting views from Nigerians in diaspora.
Join the host of the show and some Nigerians in diaspora, Dr. Damages, the flagship, Show, and KJ, as they discuss the experiences, challenges, and triumphs of Nigerians living abroad.
Discussing and analyzing everything from politics, culture, policies, career success, and how Nigerians are staying connected to their roots. Showing every Saturday by 2 p.m. West African Time and 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
The Diaspora Perspective, giving a voice to Nigerians abroad.
All right, there. Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. Now, let's get into the major topic of discussion, the first one for that matter. Now, 3 decades after the annulment of June 12, 1993 presidential election, Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, the retired army general and former military president, has finally told his side of the story. Former Nigerian military dictator General Babangida did admit that the late Chief MKO Abiola won the June 12, 1993 presidential election. Now, Babangida's regime had annulled the election before the winner could be officially declared. Well, he made this revelation in his autobiography, A Journey in Service, launched on February 20, that's yesterday, 2025, at the Congress Hall of the Transcorp Hilton Hotel in Abuja. He said he later discovered that the forces against June 12 election were led by General Sani Abacha, his chief of defense staff, who later became military head of state. Now, in the wake of the crisis, Babangida has stepped down, or he stepped aside as president in August 1993 and installed an interim government led by Ernest Shoneka, which Abacha will remove from power in November 1993. Meanwhile, another former president, retired General Obasanjo, who spoke at the launching of event in Abuja, which he chaired, stated that by writing the book, Babangida had succeeded in documenting history, aside contributing to making history. Oh, well, we are joined in the studio here from Lagos, where we are broadcasting by Mr. Dele Fanimo. Dele is a seasoned reporter and also a political affairs commentator. Good morning, Dele, and welcome to the show. Good morning. Okay, we also be joined from our Benin studio, Benin Art Station, by Comrade Enabulele. Comrade Enabulele is a former Edo State House of Assembly member. He is also Okay, I understand that he's not in. So in the course of the program, he's going to join us. All right, but let's start with the one that is here with us already, Mr. Dele Fanimo. Dele, good morning once again and good to have you. Yesterday was big day in Nigeria. Big day, man, big news. Former military president Ibrahim Babangida said, look, Chief MKO Abiola actually won the 1993 general election. Is it telling us something that we didn't already know?
Well, before we get into the conversation, let's watch that video.
Okay.
As the leader of the military administration, I accept full responsibility for all decisions taken under my watch. And June 12 happened under my watch. Mistakes, oversights, and missteps happen in quick succession. But I say in my book, in all matters we acted in the supreme national interest so that Nigeria could survive. Our nation's march to democracy was interrupted, a fact that I deeply regret, but Nigeria survived and democracy is still alive, a testament to our resilience and commitment to progress. This book is part of my personal story of that encounter with national history. I did not travel alone. I undertook the challenging work of leadership in the company of many patriots. Many are still here.
That's General Ibrahim Babangida during the launch of his memoir yesterday, Journey in Service. He spoke quite a lot. He did say a lot, you know. He said that, look, MKO Abiola won the election, that a section of the military led by General Sani Abacha, who later became the head of state of Nigeria after Babangida stepped aside, was the brain behind the annulment. He also said a lot. He said, I wasn't even around in Abuja. You know, I was somewhere in Katsina State, commiserating with the Yaradua family that had lost their patriarch. And it was brought to my knowledge that the election had been annulled. The result was stopped, you know, and election annulled, and all of that. He said he also regrets, more like taking responsibility for whatever happened, because according to him, that thing also truncated our journey to democracy. It's a book that I think, I've not read it, but have seen excerpts of it, and I think a lot of Nigerians would like to read that book. Now, Dele, let me come to you. What's your reaction to all of this? Is Babangida telling us what we didn't already know when he said that it was MKO that actually won the election? And I would also like you to comment on the fact that he said that Abacha was the brain behind it. Why is he telling us at this moment? Why didn't he say it when Abacha was still alive? Let's have your broad reaction to all of these issues.
Since yesterday when I watched these on television, and I also read reports from various media organizations about the excerpts of the book, I've been crestfallen. I've been very, very sad. I've been very sad because right before me, history is being rewritten in a jaundiced and cruel manner. This is something that happened over 32 years ago. And as if we all have collective amnesia in Nigeria, somebody who dealt a deadly blow on almost all institutions in Nigeria, that we are still reeling from the pains of those deadly blows, is still gallivanting and being celebrated by those who should know. Oshibajo said something yesterday in the course of his review. He said, the traducer that almost ran people out of this world is here being celebrated by a president that was hounded out of this country at one time. You see, let me start by saying, and I'm going to reiterate it here, that whatever it is that will take us in this country, we need to bring history back and forcefully to the curriculum, so that posterity can document the shenanigans of these people. So that
it's already back, but it depends on what history that we teach our students.
You see, we should document this so that our next generation will not be hoodwinked into believing that these people are heroes, but they are actually villains. The Babangida that we know, that we still know, that every coup in this country, there was none that Babangida didn't participate that succeeded. Right from 1975. Babangida destroyed the military, destroyed the political class through his machinations, to the extent that up until today, military officers don't even go to the mess. Mess in the military is being populated by civilians because he created that atmosphere that there is mutual suspicion in the military today. The discipline in the military has been eroded. And right here, where somebody like me is still alive, Babangida is saying all this, and people are clapping for him.
There's an angle that you brought into it, and it's good that you brought it so that we'll just discuss it more like exhaustively. You talked about Babangida being part of all the successful coups right from 1975. Yes. He didn't act alone. We also had some civilians, and MK Abiola was fingered as one of the civilian coup plotters. So, how did that contribute to building democracy?
You see why I'm trying to build this? Is the fact that if somebody was that intelligent, you recall that in one of the excerpts, he said, Sonny, which was Abacha, was not intelligent, but he was brave. And conversely, Babangida is intelligent. He also postured as a brave soldier. But we have now seen now that he is actually not a brave, but cunning soldier. And in the military, you have classes of people, broad classes of people in the military. The operational person and the administrative person. Some soldiers, because of their bravery, non-commissioned officers who should have ended his career as a warrant officer are promoted ceremoniously to captain or even majors. Just because of their bravery.
Let's come back to the June 12 debacle. You know,
now
Babangida said something about not being aware that he was in faraway Katsina in the Yaradua family, commiserating with them because of the passing of their patriarch, their father, and that it filtered into his ear. You know, somebody told him that the elections had been annulled, and when he made investigations, he found out that Sani Abacha, was the one behind it. Is there a possibility that this could be true, given that he was the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, he was simply the chief of defense staff, and Babangida will come back to Abuja and allow Sani to continue in his service as chief of defense staff and all of that? Is it possible? Is this something that we should believe?
Now,
Babangida had also killed Maman Vasa, a very close friend.
I was coming to that.
Okay. And the Okaku and all of that.
Babangida, this same Babangida, was brave enough to rope his childhood friend who went to the same Barewa college, who was his best man during his wedding, and shot him. A brilliant poet, a consummate intellectual, and now he's coming to that gathering to say he was afraid of Sani Abacha. This was the same Sani Abacha that went to Russia for training, and the only certificate he came back with was this officer is untrainable.
So is it just convenient?
So how could you tell me as commander-in-chief he was not a civilian president?
Is it just convenient for him to put the blame on the dead without naming other individuals that participated? because he did say
the only person he named
is
that is still alive is David Mark.
Yes. And then there are other people. Of course, Nigerians know there are other people. So shouldn't we be X-raying?
What makes you think that those people mentioned are not seated there yesterday?
Let me land on my question. Shouldn't it have made a lot more sense if names were mentioned, all right, and for there to be some sort of restitution? Shouldn't those people, even Babangida himself, be made to face treasonable charges? Because isn't this treason?
You know, you see, we can't exhaust some of those snippets in that excerpt. One, you said at some point that you were afraid of dying. A general in the army who at the point of enlisting in the armed forces had signed off his life, put his life on the line to save the country. Now you rose using state resources to become a general in the army, and you are now saying you are afraid for your lives, you don't want to die for the country, and now you are saying that you are putting your life in the line for that same country. Look at the double speak, and people are applauding him.
All right. Well, let's go to Benin, where Comrade Destiny Anabulele is standing by. He's a former executive chairman of your Southeast Local Government Council, a former Edo State House of Assembly member, former president, Congos Conference of Non-Governmental Organization Society. Well, good to have you join us this morning from Benin. Let's establish contact with you. Good morning, Comrade Destiny Anabulele. All right, good to see you. Oh, you're dressed in your regalia, looking like a comrade indeed. Oh, well, let's look at the statement made yesterday. Some have said that this is just a way to sell his book because these things are things that we know already. But what's your take on this? And what do you think should be done? I'm going to ask you this question as well. Should Babangida, Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, and every other person involved in the annulment of June 12 be made to face treasonable charges? Or should they be applauded for, coming out to eventually give closure to those that are aggrieved by the annulment of June 12? I would like for you to unmute your microphone so we can hear you. Go ahead, please. Go ahead. Go ahead. Well, unfortunately, the network is acting up this morning and we're unable to hear you at the moment, but we hope our engineers will fix that and make it possible for us to have your take on the show. A lot of Nigerians are reacting to this, especially those that witnessed June 12 and the annulment of it. Oh, well, let me come back.
I just skipped something that I needed to ask, to talk about, that if Babangida should be charged with treasonable felony, Babangida should not only be charged for treasonable felony, it should be charged for murder, because vicarious liability has roped him in. In the process of this June 12 validation, a lot of Nigerians died on the streets. Who is going to account for these people's blood, if not Babangida, that precipitated this? Kudirat Abiola died. She was shot. This woman in Ibadan was also killed. Alfred Iwani died. Because if Abacha had been cut short from achieving his ambition, which was a collusion between IBB and himself, because Abacha knew he was going to be president. That was why, for the first time in the history of this country, in the military, Abacha was promoted full-star general 4-star general, along with the head of state, wearing the same rank, same epaulets. So it was clear that Abacha had been primed to succeed. So they just made Shonekon a placeholder to fill in the gap, to assuage the Southwesterners. So he is equally guilty of multiple murder.
All right, Dele, I like the angle that you brought it in now, that if you have to hold Ibrahim Babangida responsible, according to you, he is the one that precipitated most of these actions.
Yes.
But it is very clear that, is there a thing that you can point to that he did in particular, apart from precipitating it? Because most of these people that you mentioned that were killed by the Abacha goons.
Who made Abacha the head of state?
Who made Babangida the head of state? So is it going to cascade down to?
Let's begin to interrogate it if you want us to go through that route.
No, I'm just asking.
But for the sake of what is now the burning issue in the country, let's limit it to Babangida.
Okay.
How could a Babangida in my lifetime, when he's still alive, not somebody else trying to distort history, tell me that he's so weak that he could not tame an Abacha that had almost zero sense in terms of administration? Show me, and ask military officers if Abacha ever wore a medal, if anything like PSC, dagger, FSC, that those were trainings at officers' cadre that you must attend and pass before you are awarded that medal. Show me. His chest was blank throughout his career. He never passed all this. But because he came from a particular section of the country that hook or crook, they must be there. Is it not the same thing with Buhari? Show me any course Buhari went and he came out successful. And Babangida was that is so brilliant and so consummate that he made use of all the spectrum of people that matter in this country, intelligentsia, security, anything. And he's not telling me that he's fearful of somebody like Abacha. Okay. How could Babangida tell me and you that it was away in Katsina, not in Australia, and Abacha will have the temerity? He has even shot himself in the foot by saying that. He has shot himself in the foot by saying that these people came to him. Was it after they are not the election that they came to him that they would
he said quite a lot. He said quite a lot. He also said that the military council that was taking decision had clearly been divided into factions. One led by Sani Abacha and another one apparently by him, under him. Now, you talked about Kudirat Abiola dying, Abiola himself dying in detention and all of that. Lives were lost. The Abiola family lost their patriarch, their matriarch. Business was destroyed. The Abiola family business was destroyed. Alfred Rewani lost his life, and a lot more people died. So, do you think that Babangida's memoir should serve as some form of closure, to the pains of June 12? Because he clearly said, I admit, I take responsibility for everything that happened. Is there a way, is this more like a restitution for the loss Nigeria experienced within that period?
How do you deodorize infamy? That's the question.
How do you do what?
Deodorize infamy.
No, but he's taking responsibility. He said he regrets whatever action, whatever happened as a result of those actions.
Anyway, we have
of
to
the
go
council.
through the route of the Bible. That don't allow a witch to kill you, because if she goes back to ask for restitution, she may find herself in heaven.
Meaning?
Is that what we are saying now? That after all the killings, after all the rigmarole, after several dates of handing over that was shifted, then somebody now comes.
Exactly my question. Should this book serve as some form of closure to the pains of June 12th? And is there anything you think that the government, the Nigerian state, can do, to appease the Abiola family? Their business was destroyed. Everything around them scattered. Is there anything you think that the government can do?
The only way Babangida can be excused from these heinous crimes he had committed is to face the law and answer charges. There are other things that he did. His focus was June 12th. What about the missing $12 billion oil windfall?
No, have you read the book?
Has he answered?
Have you read the book?
I am sure that
a lot more.
I am sure that if answers were provided in that direction, it would have been highlighted.
We also need to talk about. He also need. I don't know whether the issue of Delegiwa made it on that book.
I want to read in the palace of ignorance by refusing to read that book.
Okay. Well,
that's the level of the way I feel about that book.
I understand. Let's reestablish contact with our Benin station where Comrade Destiny Enabulele is standing by. Let's see if that audio issue has been rectified. Good morning once again, Comrade Destiny Enabulele. If you can hear me, we'd like for you to react to the conversation.
Clear.
Just give us your thoughts.
I can hear you loud and clear. Let me appreciate.
Fantastic. Go right ahead.
You guys. Let me appreciate you guys over there. It's good to be back. I've been away for about 3 weeks. So the issue before us, the issue before us is I received it with mixed feelings. Though I was not an active participant, as at the time this whole, conundrum happened in our country. But that's not to say that as a student of history that I have not, flipped through what transpired. I listened to the retired general yesterday with rapt attention in trying to, cross the T's and dot the I's. To some of us, it is quite and very unfortunate. I want to say this unequivocally, that the Nigeria of today is as a result of what IBB has given to us. For him, as a leader, to have agreed that he was misled, or perhaps the action was taken by subordinates, it is very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. What the June 12th cost us as a nation, what it cost us as a nation, it is better imagine. It is better imagine. To some of us, even till very just now, the issue of June 12th is still very fresh in the length and breadth of this country. Still very fresh. As put together, or perhaps as reported by the participant, by the journalists that participated in that exercise. They have agreed that it is the most fairest and transparent election in the history of this country. Even till this very minute, even till the one we as quote unquote the Democrats are organizing or election. There is a fact that of June 12th, MK Abiola is the most fairest election in the history of this country. Having said that, he alluded to so many unthinkable, thoughts yesterday that some of us will look at and say, Nigeria, we are still very far from the truth. We saw the array of personalities at that gathering, and some of them alluded to the fact that how he, helped them to attain whatever fame they've attained. You saw the billions, trickling in and what have you, as if it's just some cobbles in my village. But having said that, that will tell you the level of our thinking in this country. I don't think there's any solution in sight. If I try to juxtapose the era of IBB and the very just now, permit me, there's a thin line. There's a thin line between that of IBB and what we have in this country very just now, led by Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That is the gospel truth. So, you know, we've allowed it to fly. Just like the analyst said there. You see people clapping, smiling. In a sane society, it ought not to be. In a sane society, it ought not to be. So for us, that's why you see every successful government or leadership, they try to replicate what their predecessors. Because there's no you know, consequence for action. There are no consequence for action in this country. So everybody just come, do your own, and you go scot-free.
Okay. Well,
there are no consequences for action.
Talking about consequences for action, we'll get into all of that. Now, he also did say something, but I'd like to bring this to Mr. Fanimo now. He also did say something. He said Abiola would have been assassinated if he had not allowed the annulment to go on, you know, because he said those around him would have assassinated Abiola. So he tried to save Nigeria, but we still lost Abiola. So what's the sense in all of that?
You see, how can a commander-in-chief of the armed forces, do you know the enormous power somebody who is a commander-in-chief holds under a military dispensation? It's just a wave of the hand. You could take out anybody. And you are now telling me, which means you even know those who are planning to assassinate. Even you claim in that book that David Mark said the day Abiola is proclaimed president of Nigeria, he will personally shoot him. And you still held that person in that AFRC, Armed Forces Ruling Council, as a member. There's nothing this man wants to say.
Okay.
Sorry, are Nigerians the problem? When do you think Nigerians will wake up? Because if you x-ray his statement, he also said, look, that there was a break in democracy that Nigeria was practicing at the time, but he's glad that democracy has survived till today, and you know, Nigerians have found a way to continue. Doesn't that speak to redundancy on the part of Nigerians? Or doesn't that speak to the fact that Nigerians just take everything thrown at them, hook, line, and sinker, without, you know, questioning why those things are being meted out to them, and asking for better, you know, better things from those that are at the hem of affairs? Should Nigerians be blamed in all of this?
Yes, Nigeria should be blamed, and I'll tell you why. You see, if you allow this kind of shenanigans to continue, the political class would always gauge us by this barometer. And consistently, you would have seen that they know that the power of resistance, the resilience of an average Nigerian is almost at zero level. And because of that, they know how to fly kites, gauge the pulse of the people, and knowing fully well that we can't go far in resisting all this, they would always come back and ambush us. I keep repeating here, look at what South Koreans did on a day their president brought in martial law. And in less than 6 hours from that proclamation, the people saw the danger in it. They marched on the parliament building, and legislators came in, and when the crowd was too overwhelming, they scaled the fence because they couldn't get to the gate to make sure that they reversed that position. Today, the man is afraid for his life. He's already in detention and is going to face the law. How could somebody, after 32 years of rotting, terrible damage to the psyche of Nigerians, to the system, destruction of institutions, come up one day because he has written a book that has garnered over several billions of naira within 24 hours, and then we are clapping,
okay,
we are celebrating?
All right. All right, thank you very much. Now let's go back to Benin, where we still have a comrade Destiny Enabulele. Comrade, let me stay with you on the issue of what happened in June 12. Like you said, what we are experiencing today, it's more like an outcome of the June 12 crisis. Well, I also do know that nations do have their dark history. You know, every nation has its dark history. Now that former military president Ibrahim Babangida has put, you know, his thoughts, what happened, you know, his experience on paper in the form of a book, do you think that that book should serve as a form of closure to the pains of June 12? And what do you think that the Nigerian state can do, you know, to the Abiola family to ensure that, look, they get over whatever happened?
I think what he has succeeded in doing is perhaps to, you know, to reawaken the saga of the June 12 after over 30 years, so to speak. And again, it is for us to learn from history. There are no bad history, there are no good history. History is history. So it's for us to not look at it dispassionately by way of x-raying what he have, you know, brought forward before us, and see how we can see the good ones to advance our tomorrow. And again, you ask me if we as a Nigerian, if we read. That is our problem in this country. So for us, I will not just with a wave of hand, you know, totally condemn his biography, what he has put together, the literature. I will not condemn. There are still the good ones that we can leverage on to advance our tomorrow as a country. So for me, I want to, you know, totally, you know, sympathize with Nigerians, because at the receiving end in all of this.
Okay.
The ruling class, they know themselves. You saw it yesterday. You saw it. Even when with due respect to Gowan, when he said that even in the course of him going to the then IBB, the Bida secondary school, if I'm not mistaken, that in the course of his visit, in career, something like that to the school, that his visit, you know, encourages about 10 to 15, you know, young Nigerians to be enlisted in the Nigerian army. In an average, about reasonable number of them became a general, and some of them became president, head of states of this country, of this country, and some governors, and so to speak. So for us as a people, what have we achieved over this? This brings back to us vis-a-vis the civilian rule. Today you see us hobnobbing as we can siphon and mismanage our collective patrimony without us coming together to see how we can advance this country. And again, you made mention of.
Go ahead. Land on your thoughts.
Yes, and again, you made mention of and hello.
Go ahead, I can hear you.
This what we have, how it's going to advance us in this present dispensation. Yes, seriously, you would definitely, if we look at between the lines, to see how we can advance this present democracy. Because as we speak very just now, what we have presently is not working. It's not working. All of you can even try in the nearby Africa country that is built by military. You can see what the young guy is doing. But in our own system here, it is quite unfortunate.
All right,
and we as a Nigerian and the ruling elites, we must sit down together to see how we get out of
because of our democracy. Comrade, I'm staying with you. My question is, now that the main character, the main actor in the June 12 debacle has admitted that MK Abiola won the election, what do you think that the Nigerian government should do to immortalize his name? Regarding June 12, I mean, we have some southwest states, declaring June 12 public holiday and things like that. But at the national level, what do you think that the Nigerian state can do to immortalize MKO Abiola? And we're just looking I think put a final closure, a closure to the pains of June 12. What do you think that the government can do? Can
we really put a final closure on the pains of June 12? We cannot. because he's here with us. But to try to answer your question, I think the immediate past administration of Muhammadu Buhari has, tried to answer part of your question by acknowledging, MK Abiola as a president, or perhaps as the winner. I think he was given a medal by listing him into the GO blah blah blah, so to speak, of the higher men of the federation. So I think they've tried to in going forward. See, this is another thing that some of us will need to. What would have been before now? I've expected the present political dispensation as a result of this civilian rule to look at the nitty gritty, what transpired during the June 12, before, during, and after, to see how they can even some of the revelations yesterday, even to some of us students of history, perhaps that are reading different literatures, we've already agreed that election was truly won by MK Abiola. And some of the revelation that led to our ears yesterday, to some of us, we know what happened. What happened, that if you had allowed MK Abiola to succeed, or perhaps announce him as the winner, that he would have been assassinated. Even before now. That will tell you that there is complicity. Let me quickly take your mind back to the late the former Attorney General. This man from I'm forgetting from Ibadan, if I'm not mistaken. You agree, as a Minister of Justice, as a federal minister, he was assassinated. And you read very recently, some of the revelations that the assassination was a state coordinated assassination. We've heard from the children. So even so from his allies, that it was a coordinated assassination. So for us as a country, there is no crime. I think it was alluded to Sani Abacha, that if a crime exceeds 24 hours, you know that state has a hand in the crime. That is the gospel truth. So as a civilian government, we need to see how we can, by giving MK Abiola and the family the full benefit what it takes to be a president, and naming a very fundamental national monument after him, so that to some extent, if not totally, about up to 60% will rest this issue of June 12 and a guide for us in the near future. So I want to appeal. You see that if that say we will not allow civilian rule, they are the one today in the forefront of the civilian rule, like the former Senate president. I don't want to go into the details. It is quite disheartening. Even the immediate past president of this, who one time at the other, a democratically elected president of this, they benefited. So that will tell you that every Nigerians and every.
I know, yes, a lot of Nigerians are aggrieved and would love to react, but this venting, is this the kind of reaction that we should be getting? We know that if this has happened in places like South Africa, it would have been a different reaction. But Nigerians are the people that they are. Well, thank you very much for your thoughts there, but we'd like you to stay with us. Let's bring it back to the studio before we wrap this conversation up. Now, Dele, let me ask you this question now. Without Nigerians asking for justice, and if Nigerians have to ask for justice, what sort of justice should Nigerians be asking for? But my question here is, without Nigerians asking for justice and asking that, well, I mean, aside from June 12 being called Democracy Day, which the previous administration did in 2018, these individuals whose names have come up, or these individuals that we know, without them being made to face the repercussion of their crime, will Nigeria ever get good leadership?
Answering your question straight, we have said it several times here that when there is no consequence for action, the action would be replicated over time. And this is exactly what is happening. But before I go to your question, I want to quickly point out something. I'm surprised that Obasanjo was the chairman of that event. Obasanjo, in death, denigrated his kinsman, Abiola, to the extent that for the 8 years of his rule, he never recognized him for once. So there's a lot of issues around that. It took somebody who came to upset a democratic process.
It took the outcry of Nigerians, actually.
No, there was outcry during Obasanjo's tenure. But it took somebody who shoved out Shagari in 1983 out of government and fostered military rule on us for many years to recognize that truly this man won that election and it should be recognized. So whatever restitution anybody is bringing now, it's too late in the day for anybody to applaud. What else
Don't
would
you
I,
think
what,
it would
what
have been
else
very
would have,
fresh for Obasanjo to do anything regarding June 12? I mean, that was
there
it was
there
a
was
hit.
no freshness. Obasanjo profited from June 12 more than any other person in this country.
Out of his own making.
Of course, they needed
He was a
him.
child of,
They also needed him to.
Wasn't it more like a historical fortune of history that he was at the right time, at the right place at the right time?
It wasn't as if he was at the right. Was it at the right place when he was in prison when they brought him out to come and be president?
He was at the right place at the right time.
Okay. Would you have loved that you also told that lie before you make success?
It was something
You see,
that happened to him.
it was just the only person that the Northerners could trust.
That is the right place at the right time. Let's go over it. But my question is this:
Now,
don't you
let's
think
not
it would
go
have been too
the
early in the day
route
for
of
Obasanjo,
academic
to
discourse.
have done anything at that moment?
He could have done something. Does it mean that there were no conversation between IBB and Obasanjo after he left prison? Have you forgotten that he went to visit him in the hilltop before he started his campaign? Was there no discussion about June 12 between Obasanjo and the IBB? The man bluntly refused to recognize June 12. Not even Abiola. That process alone should have been recognized by him if he was truly a Democrat.
All right, Dele, we are running out of time. We need to get into the second topic of discussion. But before we do that, now that you have said that you are not going to read the book, you will not read the book, how will you know if the issue of Delegiwa was addressed in that book?
You are trying to lure me into reading. But for the sake of this that you are pointed at, because I don't want to be talking from point of ignorance, so I will force myself to read the book.
All right then. Well, thank you very much.
I tell you, you just changed my mind.
Let's get into
it touched at the heart of.
Well, let's get into other conversations now. Let's talk about insecurity because it seems to have come. Well, thanks for joining us again. Now, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, says that the Nigerian military would go after wanted bandit leader Bello Turji. He stated this on Thursday in Gusau, the Zamfara state capital, briefing journalists at the headquarters of Operation Fansen Yama. Well, the army chief reiterated that the troops' commitment to securing Zamfara, vowing that Turji would soon be eliminated. Oluyede reeled out the achievements of the Nigerian army in the region, saying troops have killed several bandit leaders in the last few months. Well, on Turji Bello's case, he said, the wanted terrorist has been on the run and should keep running. Well, Bello Turji is on the run as we speak, and for everywhere he goes, we follow him there. Let him keep running. It is just a matter of time. He would be removed from the space. Well, but in a contrasting development, Aminu Boza, a Sokoto state lawmaker, has accused notorious bandit leader Bello Turji of imposing a 25 million naira levy on villages in the eastern part of Sokoto state. Well, Boza is a member of the Sokoto State Assembly representing Sabumbrini Gobiru. According to security analysts and counterinsurgency experts Zakazola Makama, the lawmaker, Boza, made the accusation while speaking to journalists, and the lawmaker, who is a member of the Sokoto State House of Assembly, raised the alarm over Turji's presence in the Isa and Sabumbrini areas of the state. What we have with us in this, we still have with us in the studio, Daily Fanimo, and virtually, Comrade Destiny and Abolele. Now, this statement, we will get him. Well, let's take that one. Let's take the statement from the Chief of Army Staff, and then we'll get into the conversation proper.
To support us the more, give us information so that we can do our jobs better. For as long as we do that, even our enemies, our collective enemies, will leave a space for us so that we can have space for development.
What should the expectation of the people in terms of crushing the other leaders like Bello Turji?
We're on that already. You know the ability to use on the run as we speak. And for everywhere he goes to, for everywhere he moves to, we follow him there. So let him keep running.
Oh, well, there you have it. This one was gotten from another media outlet. But yes, these statements made. Some Nigerian, well, do you think this military, the Chief of Army Staff and the general architecture, the military architecture, is serious about removing Bello Turji, who has repeatedly threatened the security of Nigerians, especially in the northern parts of Nigeria? Do you think they're serious about this? Because we've heard that his son has been killed. We've heard that those close to him have been killed, but he seems to have evaded attacks repeatedly. And now there's a revelation. I won't be surprised if it's countered tomorrow, but there is a revelation that villages in Sokoto State are being made to pay 25 million naira each by Bello Turji. Are we ready? Are we serious?
Issues like this. You recall that at some point in this country, there was this notorious armed robber in Domain Ogbon, Aneni, that was terrorizing the then Bende state. Up until the time that I think Iyang was IG. Iyang.
Okay.
Iyang was IG. And at one of the council meeting in Dada Barracks then, IBB turned to him and said, "Where is Anini?" And that became instructive for the IG. And then they swung into action. And the result of this is the fact that police officer Iyam, the DSP, was providing intelligence for Anini's group. Should we not look at that in this back and forth about this particular? Look at that irredentist that on one, even somebody who is not trained in martial arts can take him down in minutes. And this is the kind of person that the military, with all the might, with all the budgetary allocation, cannot take out.
Could it be an issue of him knowing the terrain better than the military.
You see, he couldn't have known the terrain better than the military.
Because he's been able to evade.
If he was that good and smart, he wouldn't have been chased out of his country, Niger Republic, even before the advent of the military. He's not a Nigerian, and that makes it compelling for the military to go after him and his lieutenants. But what do we have? Back and forth. You know how many times Gumi had met this man in the forest to have meetings, and you have soldiers, Nigerian army soldiers and police officers in the same camp with Toji and his men discussing, and they allow him to go, and they came out of that forest to come and brief us. What kind of meeting is that? What is the commitment of the Nigerian Air Force? Are you saying that we cannot zero in on where Toji is to take him out? It just shows the unwillingness of the powers that be, particularly the president of this country, to take out Toji.
Okay, I like the fact that you are coming in this direction, because the analogy you made with
Aneni,
Babangida, Inyangete, and Aneni,
yes,
and all of that. I mean, how many times, have our president said, look, relocate to the war zone, relocate to the terror zone? Is that not some form of commitment on the part of the president to say, look, we must take these people out? So is it the problem of the president now, or is it the problem of the intelligence community or the military?
Look, it is still the problem of the president.
How?
I tell you. That footage was shown on NTA network that evening. Ian knew that IBB was dead serious about Anini. And he knew that his job was on the line. And he knew that the only thing that can keep him on that job is to make sure that Anini is taken out. And he took his best of men. Chris Omoben was at the head of the security then. Omokaru was there. All of them went to Benin. The best of men, snipers, intelligence people, and in days, Anini was fished out, and he paid for the crime.
Okay, all right. Let's go to Benin, our Benin Air Station, where we still have a comrade, Destiny Enabulele. Comrade, good to have you back. We are discussing security and insecurity in Nigeria at this moment. Oh, well, within the week, something has been trending, and it's about a certain U.S. Congress member, Scott Perry, who said that, look, USAID was the funding that they gave to certain countries. He mentioned Nigeria, where Boko Haram was purportedly funded by USAID and even Afghanistan, ISIS, and all of those places. But the American government yesterday denied that, saying, look, Scott Perry isn't saying the truth, that USAID was not involved in financing or funding terrorism. If you put all of these things together and what is happening in Nigeria, particularly the inability of the military to take out kingpins, especially Toji Bello, does it look like some form of conspiracy between who? Is it people in government? Is it international organizations? Is it NGOs or what? What's your reaction to all of this? Where does that leave Nigerians regarding the fight against insecurity?
Let me again, appreciate the platform for this opportunity. What were you expecting from the U.S. government? To say the lawmaker or the congressman was saying the truth? Definitely, they would deny. It's a tool in diplomacy. You see, if you go back history, you will understand how we find ourselves in this quagmire. You will understand perfectly. Date back to the issue of Chibok girls and what have you. You saw even some of us, before we say Jack, they were already in the United States of America, and trying to canvass the U.S. government then to come to our aid. Well, that is a topic for another day. Let me try to answer your question very address the issue. I want to align with the analysts there. We are not serious as a nation. The leadership of this country, we are not serious because we don't want to arrest or perhaps to allow Nigerians to have a very good night rest. That is the gospel truth. Because he said something just now during the anime, of which I am talking from the state where anime reigned supreme at a time. Where he reigned at a time. I remember, and I read it sometime, that indeed that the then president asked the then IG, where is anime? And it is equally on record, I said it earlier, that the late Sani Abacha said, if a crime exceeds 24 hours, you know that the state is that has a hand in it or unwilling, to solve the problem. That is the gospel truth. So, for me, I don't see any reason why the echelon, the heads of these various security agencies, I don't know why they are still, but now they should have located to either Sokoto or Borno, or so to speak. I don't know what they are doing in AC offices and AC vehicle when the nation is upside down. You see, we are at war until we realize that we are at war.
Going by what
that is
you
the only way we get.
Comrade, going by what you said, if we are able to establish that, look, the government is more like complicit, I'm trying to paraphrase what you said, impliedly that, look, if something like insecurity persists for more than 24 hours, then the government knows about it. If we establish that fact, what do you think that the government or previous governments, successive governments, that they want to achieve by allowing insecurity to fester in Nigeria?
Let me quickly say this. Do you know how much that is being guzzled as a result of trying to fight insecurity? If they tell you you will have a sleepless night for complete 7 days, for 1 week, do you know how much is being guzzled? Do you know how much is released for the true fighting of the insecurity? That is a topic for another day. We want to go to the nitty-gritty. Because whether you like it or not, all these various security agencies, they are feasting and they are smiling to the banks as a result of this insecurity in our country that is bedeviling our country. Let me in a very close neighboring state here, former Bender Smith, now Delta State, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's all up to a month now, that a prisoner was let out of a prison to come commit crime in Edo State. Don't see, that's to tell you that there is a network of crime in this country. And the analyst said it earlier that the then Iyanu was as a ASP was very high ranking officer, was the man that was aiding the then enemy, no enemy, that was aiding, giving them the necessary information. That's exactly what is playing out in this present, Boko Haram or insurgents in the northwest, northeast, and so to speak. This is exactly what is happening. There is no way the security agencies in this country will exonerate themselves from this insecurity that is in this country. There is no way. There are seriously bad acts in the country. Voters are complicit of this crime that is bedeviling us. So,
all right then. All right. Thank you very much, Comrade Destiny Enabulele. You must have to stay with us because we are going to come back to you to get your concluding thoughts. Now let's come back to the studio where we still have Dele Fanimo. Dele, it's sometimes people don't even know what to believe. Is there a possibility that military authorities or people in government could be colluding, with foreign partners to allow insecurity to fester simply because they want to make money? Aren't there other means of making money than making money with the blood of fellow citizens? What do we believe? What should we believe? What should we think? Because it's more like a puzzle. It's more like a conundrum that we need to untie.
Give a high-ranking military officer the option of tour of duty in the Niger Delta and the northwest or northeast. The probability is high that you want to go to the northeast, even if the risk and the stakes are higher in the northeast than south. I told you a military officer said inside aircraft en route to Nigeria from Dubai that majors, captains in the Nigerian army and sister agencies, we are making thrifts of 3 million naira every month. That was as at 2018, 2019. Exchange rate was just 250 naira to a dollar. Salary of a captain or major was not up to 400,000 at that time. So that means if he had kept his allowance while on essential duty and that of his statutory salary, it is not up to 1 million. And yet, he makes contribution of 3 million naira.
Now, Dele, you are a psychologist. Can you help us unravel this thing? Is it some form of greed? Is it lack of conscience? What is it all about? That people will have to make money with the blood of fellow citizens. That's what a lot of people find it difficult to believe this trajectory. So,
you see,
can you help us unravel it?
It is unbridled, rapacious inclination for primitive acquisition. That is it. And it comes down to the value that had been eroded over the years. A general is not worth a general if he has not built mansion in his home town or village. A general is not worth being called a general if he could not impact the village with ill-gotten wealth. There was a general in this country, Ishola Williams, that bearded major general that retired. Throughout his lifetime, throughout his stay in the military, nobody could accuse him of. He was in charge of army signals. Nobody could accuse him. Everybody, even within the institution he represents, was celebrating him just because he lived a Spartan life. But where is he today?
All right. Sorry, Moses. Sorry. The president. Do you think that the president is trying to reverse that trend? Because recently, you recall that he gave out cash awards of $20,000 to generals and car gifts and all of that. Do you think that he's trying to reverse that trend? So that they won't continue to see the insecurity, the war against terrorism as a means of making money. Is he trying to do that?
Well, he has done it in the judiciary before when he was governor of Lagos State, and it worked for him to some extent. So perhaps he has that in mind when he was doing that. But what is $20,000 to a general that can control? I know some generals that are dead now that were in charge of logistics, supply, and director of budget.
Before we wrap this up,
has made so much money.
All right, thank you very much.
$20,000 is nothing.
Daily, let's go back to Benin now. This question is for you, Comrade Destiny Nabulele. Now, do you think that the statement, well, we do understand Scott Perry made a statement that U.S. aid was being used to finance terrorism also in some parts of the world, including Nigeria. And another U.S. official has come out to say, look, that's not the case. Now, do you think the statement from the other U.S. official is enough to douse the tension? We understand that Nigeria's House of Assembly called for a closed-door session with security chiefs. But is that enough to douse the tension, or should we probe further into the activities or what this allegation of U.S. aid being used to finance terrorism in Nigeria, and what should be done? Because just yesterday, we read that a huge number of individuals that were said to have, left insurgency are being de-radicalized and reintegrated into society. And this is the same society that certain Bello Turji and his likes are placing fines on. We've seen fines being placed on people in Zamfara, Sokoto, and some parts of the north as well. The same society. What do you think should be done differently? Let's have that with your concluding thoughts, please.
this way to say it is very fortunate that it is when an issue is being raised by the whites that we, the blacks, now decide to add some flesh to it. It is very unfortunate. Before now, some of us, or rather, we raised this issue of the West, quote unquote, being an accomplice to the very ills of what is happening in this country. Some of us, we've raised this issue. So even not too long ago, our CDS, Musa, once raised this issue of activities of NGOs in helping the bandits. And none of us, see anything because it's one of us. It's not that it's being raised in the United States of America that some of us will say, okay, it's now, let not call it a spade. No, if you know that a spade is always a spade. It's not a garden fork. So for us, for me, I don't see anything. I expected Nigerians by now to gather in front of the United States of America embassy in Abuja, in Lagos. You said something earlier that we can that our actions are not enough. Truth. We can back, but we don't bite. That is the gospel truth. So in every rumor, there's always an element of truth. That is the gospel. I expect Nigerians, without us waiting for the ruling class, to start embassies, whether in Lagos. That's it. So that we'll have some flesh to it to say that yes, because hundreds, thousands of our brothers and sisters, they keep their in across, even in this state, we've had issue of kidnapping.
All right then. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Comrade Destiny and Abulele. Unfortunately, we're absolutely out of time. And this is where we have to anchor this conversation, but we still have to take concluding thoughts from Daily Fanimo, who is with us in the studio.
I think the first thing I'll say is that IBB should go back to that book and do a sequence and tell us the whole truth and nothing but the truth, and should be ready to submit itself for further scrutiny by Nigerians, particularly those who are aggrieved. Two, on the issue of security, the day the president decides and emphatically decides to take out these commanders of these ragtag non-state actors, that will be the day we'll have peace in Nigeria. And he has every machinery, the capacity and the ability to do that if he has the political will.
Some will say, do you think that can be done with interference from the Western world, seeing that Nigeria still goes cap in hand, looking for...
One good thing Abacha did during his lifetime was that he faced the West. He dared them. Because he was only brave, but may not be intelligent, but his bravery saved us.
All right then. So bravery and intelligence is needed. Well, thank you very much, Daily Fanimo, seasoned reporter, public affairs commentator. Thank you for your time. Also, big thanks to Comrade Destiny and Abulele, former executive chairman of the Southeast Local Government Council, former member, Edo State House of Assembly, former president, Congress Conference of Non-Governmental Organization Society. Thank you for your time as well. Well, at 9 o'clock, we'll be back here doing a newspaper review. Join us again. I am Moses Humphrey.
And I am Chukwuma Okoro. Bye for now.